Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with entrepreneurial entertainer George Cash Boykin discussing touring with 2 Chainz and street execs, his transition from finance into the entertainment business, and the future of live entertainment and events. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and I'm sitting down with George Cash Boykin, GC. I had to say the whole name.
The whole team.
Entrepreneurial entertainer. You have a history of working in nightlife, promoting events, but also scripted TV to working with artists. I mean, you've done a number of things, and we're going to talk about that today.
Okay.
And I'm going to allow you to really explain and go in detail of your journey.
Okay.
But thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
it's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a minute.
I know, it's been so long. I actually did I meet you through Janae?
Probably. Janae plugs everybody with everybody. She's the plug, for sure.
She's been on the podcast. Shout out to Janae from Bossip. And actually, I connected with you through my business partner, Kyle. Mm-hmm. He was like, I think you should have him on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I know GC. Like, that would be tight. So
yeah, me and Kyle got some stuff going. I saw some stuff that Cortez was posting, and I hit him up about it, and he let me know that Kyle was taking the lead on that. I'm like, who is Kyle? He's like, my intern. He's 22 years old. I'm like, okay, let me holler at him. So, 2 weeks, we've been talking every day. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. Yeah, Kyle is a great person. So I'm like, absolutely, I asked him for any recommendations, and he was like, you. So first off, I see the Chicago on your arm. Shout out to Chicago. That's where you're from. What brought you to Atlanta?
Morehouse College brought me to Atlanta. It was what my father, when he was still living with us when I was a kid, he put Morehouse in my head, planted that seed, and it's the only school that I applied to. When I was in high school, I came down twice during my spring breaks just to kick it with my boys from Chicago that were at Clark. Mm-hmm. So I just spent my time in AUC. I was like, this is where I need to be. Mm-hmm. So I didn't apply to any other schools but Morehouse.
Oh, you knew. You was like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, your story, or just researching more about you, because I wouldn't know this from the outside looking in, but you didn't start off in the entertainment business. You actually started off in finance. So that's what you went to school for, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was a business major with a finance concentration. And I was in finance for 4 years with E-Trade Financial and then JP Morgan Chase. So, I was doing everything from, answering the phone, taking orders, executing the orders, or sending them down to the trade desk to get executed. Then I moved to, and this is kind of boring, like the finance details, but it's called corporate actions, and corporate actions is basically like if you have warrants to exercise, you have rights offerings, you have stock splits, reverse splits, things of that nature. You have to kind of let the shareholder know how that's going to affect, their position, right, what they want to do, so on and so forth. And you have to be pretty knowledgeable on the company, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. So you have to be able to be versed in it and talk to them about that. So, and then I did some just banking with JP Morgan and Chase.
I think having that sort of background, though, is still pretty important to what you're doing now, and having an entrepreneurial background with finance and understanding how to handle money, and even through I know you did some project management work. I think that our journeys all kind of it aligns, and we can utilize some of those skills with what we do in the future. So, though you transitioned out of finance, how did you utilize what you had already learned to catapult you into the entertainment business? And why did you make that transition? I guess is a better question.
All right. Well, those are two questions,
yes,
and I want to answer them both fully. So, what transitioned me out of finance? I was unhappy. I was unfulfilled, and I was getting to the point that I was just annoyed with carrying out the desires of the bank and meeting the bank's goals without them having the goals of the customer or the client in mind. It really kind of bothered me. I love having conversations with clients and talking to them and explaining how stuff was working, but just seeing how the banks made their money, it just kind of annoyed me, and I didn't really want to be part of that anymore. But the actual kind of final straw was, it was crazy. Excuse me. My car broke down, and I didn't have the money to get it fixed, like to get it out, to even take it to the shop. So I was like this was before Uber and Lyft and stuff. So I was taking a taxi to work. The money I was spending on a taxi was basically half of what I was making during the day. So it wasn't making sense to me. So,
Right.
I get to work, and one day I just told my manager, his name was Lee. He's probably about 50, 55 maybe. So he was considerably older than me. I said, Lee, I need to talk to you. He was like, I know. My first name's Steven. So my full name is Steven George Cash Boykin. So he's like, Steven, I know. You're ready to leave, right? I'm like, yeah. He was like, how long are you gonna give me? I was like, I'll stay until you find a replacement. I ain't gonna leave you high and dry.
Yeah.
So, I stayed like another 2 weeks, and he got his replacement. And then I went into just kind of survival mode. So I started rocking with J1 Really Tough, DJ J1. He was at Hot 107. He was a big DJ down. Yeah, Postal Child J1. He was a huge DJ down here in the club. So I got with him and just helped him build his brand. So he was doing nights at like the Pearl on Tuesday, so I would come and video it, like Rocco come perform, Roscoe Dash come perform. I'd work the camera, take the video, go edit it. We had a website built. I didn't build the website, but I used to put the content on there, so the articles, the videos, stealing articles from other blogs and blasting it out on his email blast, and just trying to get his interaction up online, so it built his digital presence a little bit. So that's what kind of got me back into entertainment full time.
Oh, wow.
And then that led to, street execs and, being 2 Chainz road manager when I was driving the blue van with the window on the left side, on the driver's side that didn't work. I was a driver, road manager. We hit all the cities in the Chitlin circuit. So
How did you link with 2 Chainz or street execs in general?
So my business partner, David Leaks, was one of the founders of Street Execs with Travis Porter. So 3 entities kind of came together to form Street Execs. It was spityourgame.com, which was CEO Charlie. That was his website. It was like one of the first hip hop blogs. Street Execs was DJ Technique and Al. Tech was a big DJ. He used to host mixtapes and he used to do parties. And we had Flavor450.com, which was a radio station that we started on campus. We started in Clark's, in the basement of the library in Woodruff.
Yes.
Okay, so the basement of Club Woody was where we started our radio station. So we built up a relationship with like local artists. We used to take them around to like UGA and schools in Texas, in Tennessee and Alabama and stuff like that. We used to do homecomings, Oktoberfest, spring comings, all sorts of stuff like that. And we used to introduce the artists, have them perform, and just kind of put the whole event on for like fraternities or like student organizations or whatever. So we built up a relationship with schools and we built up a relationship with artists. So the 3 entities came together and like managed Travis Porter, but I was still working in corporate at that time. So I used to just get down on the weekends and like take the weekend trips or whatever. So Tech had a relationship with 2 Chainz, just from like being on tour with like, I think he was like on tour with Block or Jock or somebody or Zoe, and he had a relationship with 2 Chainz. So he asked him like, hey, let us manage you. So when 2 Chainz went over there, he was still Titty Boy at that time. So when he went over there, I was just begging. I was always asking Al, like, let me get down. Like when I heard his music, I'm like, bro, like put me on a project. Because I had already quit. I was already working with J1. So he like, all right, cool.
Put you on a project in what capacity?
I just wanted to be the road manager.
Gotcha.
I wanted to do the road stuff because that's how I was interacting with Travis Porter, just kind of being around and watching how the road management was done,
Right.
Executing the shows, dealing with the promoters, making sure that everyone was in place at the right time. So that's what I had kind of witnessed, and I was like, I can do this.
Right.
So, after a couple months, he just went into it and allowed me to do it. So it took a while for 2 Chainz to warm up to me, but it happened. The first time I met him, and told him who I was, we were in Velvet Room because I was up there with J1, and he walked in, and then I walked up to him, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? I'm the guy that Al and Tech were telling you about. He's like, oh, okay. and just look me off, you know what I'm saying? Like not not
Not
trying to
about
have
it.
no conversation at all. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first time that we interacted. So that was hilarious.
That's interesting. So, I mean, but at that point, you were able to tour. You were able to go on the road with them, and establish that relationship more with Street Execs. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that for about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I think from 11 to 16 or 17, something like that.
How was the road life like? What was that like?
Road life was crazy. It was strenuous. You know, you got a bunch of personalities at times. You know, I'm managing like 20 grown men that all have different things that they want to accomplish, different dreams, different aspirations, got their own families, and you have to respect each man as a man. And you know, as a road manager, you're trying to get the most productivity out of everybody. Like you have one single goal. Yeah, that's the mission, is to get the artist on stage, have a great show, and make sure that everyone's happy. Mainly the artist, because all of this is coming out of his money. But you have to look at the artist as a business. Like you have all these expenses, you have all of these departments that have to be managed. And I'm basically the CEO of that artist when you look at the artist as a business.
Right.
As far as the road goes, you know what I mean? Business managers are going to handle, you know, all the other relationships with labels and other artists and endorsements and stuff like that.
Right.
But as far as the road goes, like you're the CEO of that artist on the road.
What was your fondest memory on the road? Just curious.
Man, I got a bunch of fond memories, man. We traveled so many countries. Like I went to Africa multiple times.
That's amazing.
Like Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya. Went to Australia the first time with him. Went all through Europe. You know, everywhere in Canada. Like we had some real good times on the road.
Amazing.
It was we had some good times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing about touring and like being able to be a tour manager, a road manager. I know, I'm hungry.
I apologize.
It's cool. They can't hear you. I was just saying, like, touring and like having the opportunity to do that does provide you with like the ability to see so much culture and to also see how like hip hop is received everywhere. Like, I think that's also a cool part of being on the road. Anyways, you have your hands in a lot of different things. Another big thing, and I wanted to ask you just like where we are now, how you're navigating post-COVID. I mean, it's a little different here in Atlanta than it is in LA, and the city seemed to be wide open.
Yeah, my girl is out in LA. She was here with me for about 2.5 months, but she's back in LA now. She's like, well, it was totally different out here.
Totally different. Yeah. It ain't what like we masked up everywhere. You're not really going nowhere. I mean, they just started opening up rooftops and things like that for like outside seating in restaurants. But like I've seen parties being promoted out here. Like things are back to normal in Atlanta.
Atlanta's cracking. The clubs are back open.
It's
like big
so
crowds.
Strange. So, I mean, for you, being in the nightlife, being a resident guest DJ, you know, having that sort of experience with the party scene, how are you navigating post-COVID? Is especially with like most of your job, even with the touring side, like everything is interactive with people and engaging with people. Like, how have you been able to even process that these last couple months, and then moving forward, what does that look like for you?
Okay. So I'm going to answer that question, but I'm also going to tie in the question I didn't get to answer about the financial background and how that has helped me, basically, you know, through entertainment or even today. So the financial background allows me to kind of look from a perspective of realizing that everyone has kind of different agendas when you're engaging in any type of business, right? You're looking to build your brand, do well for your company, right? So that looks different for everybody involved in a business transaction. If it's a publicly traded company, you have shareholders that you have to keep happy. There are things that can happen to affect that share price.
Right.
When you explain to a company that this type of behavior or, you know, this type of interaction will negatively or positively affect your image and also inherently your stock price, then you're able to kind of make an argument for your point and kind of get them to see from your angle. So relative to what I'm doing now with my company, ABAR, the Association of Black Americans for Results, on, you know, one of my departments deals with companies and getting more for our community for companies that we spend money with. And, basically giving them an agenda as a demand for our business. So I've started with that, and that helps me. That background helps me articulate our stance to them and why, and it allows me to explain why it should be important to them. So when we're talking about how have I been adjusting like through COVID, it really brought about the kind of fire inside me, like during COVID, like during the lockdown, and then everything that's been happening around, the police brutality and kind of supremacist stuff that we've been discussing a lot now is allowed me to kind of gather my thoughts, see what's going on, and come up with different strategy and some organization to everyone's energy.
Right.
I feel like a lot of us do a lot of talking, and we need to do more reading and researching, and also looking from the person across the table's perspective and understand why they think what they think, and if there is a way to enlighten them to approach it a different way.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about your company, A-Bar. I know that you're shifting your focus to helping the progression of our movement, focusing on social issues, because obviously, like, with what's going on, it has allowed us all to reflect and think about, some of the things that are that we've suppressed, some of the traumas that we haven't addressed. So I thought that was dope to see that you have this company. But tell me specifically what that is, or what sort of steps you're taking right now to get some sort of resolve.
Okay. So the company is going to be broken down into, it's broken down into 7 departments. Excuse me. So the one that I just mentioned was corporate relations. So I kind of gave a definition of what that is and what that looks like, making sure that anywhere that the Black community is spending money, we are getting something back for it.
Absolutely.
It's going to be the same way with any candidates that we support. We need to have an agenda that we're taking to them. And when they get in office, after we put them in office, because we supported them, we have to hold them accountable to make these things happen. To have those conversations, you have to have policy development. So you got to be in the streets, you got to talk to the citizens, you got to figure out exactly what's going on,
and
what problems are we facing, what do we want. So you have that. You have the organization of existing groups, and this is where, kind of utilizing existing groups and finding synergy for, not looking at how they think differently, but kind of seeing where those two circles intertwine and meet and have some synergy so that we can accomplish one goal. So that goes for, street organizations, existing like Panthers, existing movements, whatever. But it also goes for like our like hood organizations, like gangs, you know what I mean? Coming together for goals that we can all agree on, you know what I mean? Despite some of our other beliefs.
Right.
So doing that, and then utilizing the artists, the entertainers, the athletes to get the message out there to the people as far as what action we need them to do. If we need them to call a state representative, if we need them to call a senator, if we need them to call a DA, putting that information out. If we have a voting agenda, like these are the candidates that we're supporting and this is why. You know what I mean? I see that a lot of folks are, pushing the voter registration and trying to get folks registered. And we need that. We need more of that. And that should never stop. But we also need to be able to meet voters wherever they are and just be real with ourselves. Everybody is not going to do the research. You know what I mean? Some people, you're just going to be lucky that you're getting them out to vote. So it's like, okay, now I'm here. What do I do?
Right.
So let me give you a voter cheat sheet. You know what I mean? If you want to know why we selected these people, I'm gonna have that information too. You know what I mean? This is what we talked to them about. This is the agenda, and this is what they said they're gonna do. You know what I mean? Then you'll have more sophisticated and more savvy voters that are like, okay, well, what position did he hold before this? He or she hold before this? What have they done? What's their stance on this? and we need to have that information readily available as well. So you got to meet every voter where they are and make it easy for them and make it simple. You know what
Yeah,
I
because
mean?
I think that's the big thing is like making it plain.
Yep.
And a lot of people are very discouraged when they get to the polls, or like even before getting to the polls. It's like, I don't know what this is, this jargon. So I'm happy to see so many young people, people in our generation who have also just been like very active in providing those resources to people who don't really like to read too. You know what I mean? Like they're
Exactly.
not really wanting to go get that information, but we need them. We need those votes. So I'm happy that you started that. So I wanted to ask you too, like, I know you spoke about planning events. Even I'm sure like early on in college you were doing this as well, from the
Yeah,
radio.
that's what started
That's
the
what
radio
started
station.
the
Yeah,
radio
doing the
station.
parties, and we started doing a live broadcast before Hot 107 started doing it. We was doing live broadcasts at our parties so
That's
that
tight.
that people that graduated and went on to like LA or New York, they could like go on still be tuned in to the Atlanta music, because our culture is just so unique. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
And the world the world pays attention to Atlanta, so it's like let's get it out there.
Absolutely. I mean, so going from like college, because I think a lot of people I talk to on this podcast, they do start off in like either promoting parties, doing events or something in college, and then go on to do like these really grandiose things in entertainment. I started in the party scene myself, and now do like these bigger, larger events. Larger events. How have you been able to plan events from like a smaller scale to a larger scale? Certain activations, like what does that look like, or do you utilize kind of the same sort of foundation of what you already know from doing those smaller events to, or campus events, to doing something bigger?
So, you know, doing the campus events when we were, in college or like right after college, we learned as we went along. You know what I mean? It was trial and error. We just tried it and perfected it. Like when you're in it, you're able to real time see what's working and what's not working. You know what I mean? And then you make adjustments as you're going. Being on the road and being able to see how large scale festivals and events are run, from Coachella to Wireless Fest or FOMO in Australia, like it allows you to see how to model something and do it, on a larger scale. So I've always taken notes, mental notes and physical notes, like kept in my phone, just to remind myself. And I've like taken down people's names to reference or ask them questions later. Like I utilize my network when I take everybody's number when I'm on the road, and I utilize them. Like if I need some advice, or I want their opinion on something, or I want someone to actually consult where I pay them, like I keep up with my contacts, and I really try to utilize my network.
That's important. Following up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of
most
times
people don't follow up.
They don't. Yeah, absolutely. You followed up with me actually about this podcast, because I was like in the midst of trying to schedule everybody. We trying to get everything done because of what's going on. And you followed up with me, so I really appreciated that. You talked about touring. You talked about these festivals. I'm curious to know your opinion on like the future of touring and large scale festivals or events. Do you feel like that's going to be a thing for the future? I know you've had this conversation. So.
I have had this conversation, but that question can prompt me to kind of go into what people will call my conspiracy theorist side and my skeptic side and all that. And I don't know if I want to give all that up right now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Those are more private one-on-one conversations.
We'll talk about it after the fact then.
But
because I'm sure I agree with you, honestly.
Yeah, but I think that the touring is going to be back alive. Right now, there is nothing like a live experience. People want that. People yearn to feel that energy around them. People yearn to, as much as we complain about it, people yearn to touch other people, bump into other people, like have something to complain about. You know what I mean? Like people want that. Like as much as, they won't admit it, people want that. I do think that there is space for technological advances where you're able to, even like with a hologram, like you remember that Michael Jackson hologram, like imagine your biggest artist performing a hologram that really looks like he's really there, like
Yeah.
in like a small room or like a private room, or like
Yeah.
you have a device that pops up, and you're able to just have a little party at your house with your little 20 friends, you know what I mean? And your favorite artist is performing right there in your living room. But it's a set time that he's gonna do this show, but a million households have this device, and he's right there in front of them. You know
So
what I'm saying?
strange,
And
but it's reality.
yeah,
It's definitely going to
it's
happen.
coming. And I probably just gave away a great idea to some company, and you'll see it later. But you'll be like, "Yo, G said that was gonna happen." You know what I mean? And if I had the contacts to make it happen right now, I would do it. But,
Absolutely. I mean, you never know. We got to look through that Rolodex and make it happen. I want you to discuss your role as both talent and producer for like these scripted projects that you've worked on, and your role as a project manager for the non-scripted shows. So like I thought that was interesting. So I didn't know that about you. I didn't know a lot of things about you actually now that I'm realizing. We had, what was that, like a wine thing or something?
We were just tasting, and we made some colognes and perfumes.
We made perfumes. It was so nice.
Yeah.
We had a great experience.
It was great at the chateau.
At the chateau.
The chateau.
So I didn't get to talk about that. We were just enjoying each other's company, but you've done, like I said, so many things creatively, so many things on the business side. I want you to tell me more about the scripted content and the non-scripted content.
So, like, performing in theater has always been in me. Like, I've been doing it since I was a kid. From, like, I used to deliver speeches. Like, I've made, like, all state events for, like, giving speeches when I was a kid. I've always been in plays. And I rap from like probably everybody rap, but from like probably 13 to 17 or 18, like right before I came to school, like I rapped. And
why'd you stop?
I didn't think there was a lane for me. It was before Luda. It was way before Drake, but my complexion, how I looked. I'm like, don't nobody want to hear me rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to vibe to this. But, then Luda
folks made it happen, right?
Right. You know what I mean? So, but as far as that, I've always found like a release, like performing. Like, I love memorizing scripts. I love like challenging myself. I love opening myself up to different emotion. I love portraying characters, so I've always had that relationship with acting and like being on stage. So I'll continue to make projects, as it makes sense. And then on the production side, I know that to get a message out, you do it through content. Like, that's what people can consume. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to change someone's perspective, that's an avenue to do it. And I love telling stories. I love enlightening. I love like educating people, or like just kind of giving them, like I've been saying, just giving them a different perspective, the ability to see from someone else's stance.
Absolutely.
So that's what really drives me to make content. And then on the project management side, when I was on that show, Little Women in Atlanta, they had artists, or not even aspiring. They had artists that wanted guidance, so they utilized the relationship that Miss Juicy had with us as street execs. So myself and DJ Sud, we were on there, and providing guidance, linking them with producers, coming up with marketing plans for the music, so on and so forth. Right. And that's what that was about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So more acting and all of the things in the future for sure.
Definitely. I'm doing everything that I'm doing now. I'm gonna keep doing. I'm gonna keep acting. I'm gonna keep producing content. I'm gonna keep quarterbacking projects for different artists, different talent, and I'm gonna continue to work on the social issues and making sure that our community is getting what we need. I'm gonna do all this stuff simultaneously.
I love it. Now, can you tell me about how you're able to, or like why, or when at what point did you decide that DJing would be an avenue for you to express yourself creatively? Were you DJing in college? No,
I was not DJing in college. I was a radio host on our show, and I did run the music. I ran two shows. So I had a sports show that I did on the weekend called After the Whistle. And we had a late night, basically, the V103
like
show.
Quiet Storm?
Yeah, Quiet Storm, exactly. So we used to talk love and relationships. and we used to just play the jams. So I was used to kind of coming up with the vibe, right? And I had been asking people to teach me how to DJ. My brother, my line brother, DJ Sean Prince, he's in LA. I got to link you up with him.
Yeah, please.
He's a dope DJ. DJs at like the Dime and Hyde and stuff like that. So I'll link you with him. But I asked him to teach me to DJ. He never taught me. J1 never taught me.
Right,
So
I'm like, you around all these DJs.
Around all these DJs. I used to carry Sean P's crates, you know what I'm saying? Like when down at the, underground Atlanta, when we was going to a house nightclub or Holiday, Sean used to open and DJ Holiday or Infamous would close, you know what I mean? But I just said forget it, and I bought my controller and I just started practicing. So my partner, D Leaks that I mentioned to you, our other business partner, Kim, was getting married. So this dude tells her, oh, just get GC to DJ your wedding. And I had only done one house party, like one small house party for like 20 people. So this was like, he told her I could do it. Then she called me and she was like, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to back down from a challenge, right?
Oh,
so
goodness.
I just started practicing, getting ready. And, I did an all right job. I did a pretty good job, like, for that to be my first big event.
Right.
And then from there, I just had the confidence to just keep going. And, I had the relationship with all the promoters down here and club owners. And, at first they took me like a joke. Oh, whatever. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. They're like, at least if I book him, he'll bring people out. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to want to see him. So then people started paying attention, like, all right, like, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the most technical dude, but as far as creating a vibe and catering to the crowd that's in there and challenging them musically, I'm going to do that. And I will go against anybody with that. Like, I can't out-scratch everybody, you know what I mean? But, my transitions are smooth, and the vibe I create is, I compete with anybody.
See, I think that's the most important thing for me is like, definitely give me something I may not have heard before, but it fits the vibe. And then also just allow me to, read the room. Read the room. That's why I couldn't DJ. I had one event at the Speakeasy over at the music room, that like upstairs room. And I was just playing for myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, maybe.
I mean, to a certain extent, you have to do that. You do have to play for yourself. But like the resident spot that I had two spots that I did resident. I was resident at the W in Buckhead, Whiskey Blue with DJ Oso, but that was only a monthly. So we did a party every month there. So I had a second residency at the James Room. But we had just really started getting into it when the quarantine happened. Right. But that space is like a speakeasy. I don't know if you've been there yet.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay, so you know the vibe in there, right? So, and there's a diverse crowd that comes in there. So I get to play everything in there to get folks like into it. Like I get to play 90s rap. I can go to like 70s disco joints.
That's tight.
I can play, the 90s R&B. Like I can really get into whatever little groove I wanna like whatever journey I wanna take you on, I can do it. And people just they trust me, so they gonna ride with me.
That's
you know
tight.
what I mean?
That's tight when you can get that sort of trust and that sort of I mean, just because this is what I was gonna ask you too about Atlanta. Like, in most clubs, you're gonna hear the same. Like you and Oso are different in terms of DJing, and a few other DJs in the city that I don't necessarily have to name, but for the most part, it's like you're gonna hear the same mainstream songs. It's gonna be real heavy hip hop in your face, and then they might slow it down, but then it's going right back up, And it's just like the same thing. Anytime I go out, I would have that same experience. So it almost was a little it deterred me from going anymore. So to have a space where you can kind of switch up the vibe and give people more than just what they're expecting, I think that's dope. And I thank you for doing that and for providing a space for other DJs to be able to do that here in the city. Because it's different. Like you go to a place in New York or LA, you gonna hear everything. Down here it's like, nah, we want to hear Migos, So I appreciate that. Now, can you tell me about Glue Strategy Company, what that is?
Yeah.
Because you got like companies, you seem like a very smart guy. You probably invested in stocks. You probably have several streams maybe. I'm curious to know like the business, the entrepreneurial side of this. I mean, you coined entrepreneurial entertainer. So tell me about Glue Strategy Company and like any other like streams that you've been able to create for yourself.
Okay. So Glue Strategy is the strategy company, and I just put a name to it recently, but it's basically everything that I have been doing for clients as like a manager or like, quarterbacking activations or rollouts for different stuff. So Glue stands for Giving Legacy Unbound Effort. And what I mean by that is like challenging the talent that I work with to push themselves and create something that will generate some longevity, something that they can pass on.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm working on getting books done for clients, planning the marketing plan for the books, all sorts of stuff. Like I'm helping my fiance with building her studio. She's in a beauty space, so building her studio out where she's going to be, creating content, servicing clients. She's going to be teaching. She's going to be having community-focused events, all in this multi-purpose space. So I'm helping her do that as well. So
who are some of your clients, or like what sort of clients are you working with? Them primarily in the entertainment industry, I assume, but I know you mentioned like athletes to musicians. So like who are, if you mind sharing?
Okay, no, there's no problem. So Tamara Young and her girlfriend Mimi Foss are two of my clients.
Oh yeah, I did see that on your or that y'all were cool on your social. Okay.
So the other stuff that I have in the works are through guys that I have relationships with that I have not necessarily taken on as clients yet.
Gotcha.
But I'm looking to bring them different projects, right? So, guys in NFL, guys in NBA, there are things that I've outlined that, we've conversed about that we're looking to roll out.
Got you. No worries.
Yeah.
I be trying to get the tea, but it's fine. I wanted to ask you, just early on with you, having your own sort of radio show in college, promoting these parties, it was different. It wasn't like the same vein of like what social media is now, what branding or marketing is now. How would you say live entertainment has changed since social media? Or not just live entertainment, but live entertainment and events has changed since social media, marketing, and branding, since your early days in the business. Like how do you utilize it? How do you use it as a resource? Do you find that it's a detriment to some of the like actual live events? Even because I wanted to ask you that too, in terms of what touring or what these shows will look like post-COVID, because like prior to, I know for me, I'm hosting an event. Everybody got their phone out. It's about the look. It's about even when you're at a party, like it's like, are you really having fun, or is this for? I mean, and it's still the same thing now. Like that's how I know people be at parties with or without their mask on. So I'm curious to know, like, the positives, the pros and the cons to social media and like branding and marketing yourself in that space.
So. It is very different, like you said, since I started with, like when I was in college and how we approach stuff. You have immediate access to everything. You have people's attention spans get shorter by the second. If you notice, music is like actual songs are getting shorter. Like
yeah.
We're only 2 verses now. Songs are 2 minutes, maybe 2:30 tops. The one reason for that is, like when you stop listening to a song, like that data is collected. So it's called a completion rate. So what's the completion rate for your songs? Like companies look at that when they're dealing with artists, when they're bringing them on.
Right.
So you got that aspect. You got people with short attention spans. You got access to everything you want right at your fingertips. So you really have to come with some substance if you want to get to the people that want substance. Like they're gonna be scouring for it. They're gonna be looking for it, and that's why certain guys and girls, certain artists are able to create those fan bases that they don't have to get the radio play. They don't have to get the promotion. People are gonna search for their stuff and listen to it because it feeds them. It gives them something different than what's popular or what gets reposted or what's trending or what people can make like a TikTok to or
Songs,
whatever.
yeah,
You know what I
facts.
mean? So there's always going to be that battle. Like, you know, the your food and your liquor, like Lupe said. Like, some people are always going to search for food. Some people just want the liquor for whatever reason. They want to not face what's going on in their lives. They want, you know, they want to live a fantasy for that moment or whatever. You know what I mean? So you got to differentiate who you're going after and what message you want to put out there. But, you know, with the multiple ways to get your content out there, it's a benefit if you really dig in and know how to utilize it. And that's what I try to offer, like, people that I work with.
Right.
You know, different ways to approach, how to do things that fans will appreciate.
Yeah.
And stick with them, like, over the long term.
I'm happy you said that in terms of like what we consume or what we seek out in terms of consumption content. What would you recommend, or in terms of like time for coming? You were talking about songs specifically, but even from like a digital content perspective, I have this conversation all the time. Like, if you're trying to do like a TV and film short or like a trailer to really pitch an idea, what do you think would grasp, or how much time do you think it would take to grasp somebody's attention without boring them? Does that look like 5 minutes? Does that look like a minute to 3 minutes? Like, what's your
Like
take on that?
a promo trailer?
Like, I mean, just any sort of, even if it's just content, like if it's like an interview clip, a promo clip on Instagram, I don't know what sort of content. Most of the people that listen to this podcast are artists, producers, songwriters, but even that, like if they have a video and they want to
Okay.
promote it on social, like how much time do you think they have before somebody swipe into something else?
I mean, I would probably say,
Or how much time would you give?
it depends. If I think that you have something deeper, then I'm gonna search it out. I'm gonna go all the way down that rabbit hole. Like,
Sure.
that's how I do, and that's not just with like artists, but like if I see a news article that is kind of framed weird to me, I'm gonna go pull up something else. I'm gonna go look up the officer, like, you know, I'm gonna go look up the department, look up the interview. I'm going to, you know, like, go look at an article that was referenced in, you know, in
Within
something.
the art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a book. I'm gonna, if a book is referenced, I'm gonna go check out that book at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that when you pique someone's interest, they will stay with you, and you know, if they're the person that you want, they'll stay with you, and they'll go down that rabbit hole with you. I think that I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
What
I
you
was
asked
just
me
basically
before that?
asking, you know, like how much time you would actually give to someone if you're swiping.
You said for the artist, which is okay. So when you're putting something out, this promo, like, you of course want to show your best self. You want to show something that is going to, like, you have to seduce your fan base. They have to be drawn into you to see that you are different from everyone else. You have to offer them something different. If you are just trying to sensationalize something else that you've seen someone do, it may not work. It may not have the same effect. Like, say something enlightening. If, you know, you're trying to get people to tune into your music, it's important to let them see you, let them get to know you as the person. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Now, having a certain bit of mystery and intrigue works. Like, that's what has worked for Wayne for so long. Like, he doesn't do a bunch of interviews, but he says so much in his music that you want to know more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Other people are able to, you know, kind of articulate themselves and share their views on the world, and that makes you more drawn into them. Like, you got to figure out what works for you. You know what I mean? And that goes along with your message and, you know, what you want to be known for.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I just wanted to ask your like perspective because, you know, I had that conversation a lot. Like, dang, should it be like a minute to 3?
Yeah.
Should, you know, you utilize Instagram TV? There's so many options, and, you know, you never really know what works. But I think you can kind of apply the same technique of what you did in terms of the party scene, in terms of like, you know, just trying it and seeing what works, trial and error sort of situation.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you before we kind of wrap things up, why do you do all of the things that you do? Like, what is that sort of purpose and position for you? Like I said, every part of your journey makes sense. Like, it's all destined, right? Like, going from finance into entertainment, utilizing those skills from early on. but like why do you feel like you do all of those things?
I like challenging myself, one, and I feel fulfillment in helping people. Like I seriously do. Like it really makes me feel good to know that I was able to give someone guidance that turned out to bring a success to them. You know what I mean? And I love learning from people too. I love being a student and adding, different weapons to my game. You know what I mean? So I have, so many interests. I have so much different experience in different areas. I like, utilizing everything that I've learned. And, I I don't like getting bored. I love challenging myself and, trying to overcome things that, may seem insurmountable at first.
Absolutely. Now you didn't go back to Chicago. You stayed in Atlanta. What's so special about this city, and how have you been able to like really grow and learn from the city, and then plant your roots here?
Atlanta is very special. Atlanta is a culture that in the entertainment space supports one another. It's not like that in Chicago, and I'm working on things to kind of change that up there. Chicago is a big monster to tackle, and I'm really looking to model some of the things I'm doing here with some of my guys in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So Atlanta, just the network and the support, really, like having my school here, having the AUC here, having black entrepreneurs, black CEOs and executive leadership at like Fortune 5s and stuff like that, and being able to access people, like you can really get to people. And I like having that ability here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just definitely something different about Atlanta. It's like a familial, like once you're in, you in there. Like you pretty much know everybody, and like the circle gets smaller and smaller. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, is there anything that like you're looking forward to in the next coming months? Like what is keeping you inspired during this time? Like I know we talked about COVID a bit and just how that's changed our industry specifically with the interacting and engaging with people. But like, how are you looking? Are you looking forward to the future?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I have a daughter on the way, so
Oh my gosh,
she'll be here in
congrats!
September,
Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Me and my fiance are excited, very very excited
Yes.
about that. So
This your first baby?
yes,
Oh my gosh,
uh-huh.
congrats.
Thank you. So super excited about that, and what was keeping me also, very excited is just seeing the fire in everybody, seeing the frustration, the the anger is keeping me fired up, because I know that I'm one of the people that can add organization and strategy to it to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So it, like, everything that's been transpiring has really, like, just like I said, it's like an awakening.
Yeah.
And it put the fire under me to get moving and really do some stuff that's really about the greater community, and not myself and not my own, like, personal accomplishments.
Impact.
Yep,
Yeah, for
for
sure.
sure.
And now legacy. Look at you. That's
Hmm.
amazing. Congrats. I'm so excited for you. Well, I'm
Thank you.
excited for, what you have to come, and just like what you've been able to do in your journey so far. And I look forward to supporting A-Bar, Glue Strategy Company, whatever else you got going on
For sure.
in the future. So thank you. And tell the people where they can find you and all that you're working on. I don't know if your companies have like specific socials, but you can share that as well.
Yep. So um, at GC is Cash is my handle on IG. A-Bar is at We Are A-Bar, and Glue Strategy is at Glue Strategy. And the corresponding websites are weareabar.com and gluestrategy.co.
Perfect.
And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. You accepting new clients always? You like,
I talk to everybody.
awesome.
I talk to everybody.
Dope.
So, yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you, GC. I appreciate you for sitting down with us and like sharing a piece of your journey. I'm sure like in a couple years, it's going to be like so much more, so many other things that you're working on. So I'm excited to like follow up with you in the future. As always, you guys can find this podcast at IDM Podcast on all social media platforms, as well as myself at Sammy Approved. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
Sonically superior.